But before I start, I would like to give some comment on the previous presentation, because to me, quality does not equal to paying more, not necessarily. You don't have to pay more to get more quality. Actually, what might happen is that you get cheaper price with better quality, because some suppliers are interested in tenders where you have quality, and they can give you at equal or cheaper, even cheaper price sometimes. A second thing that I wanted to say is that I've learned one word of your language, and it's pirkimu, because I see it constantly in your presentations, so it must be procurement. And thirdly, I would like to comment the 30% that you have in your law for meat, for using quality. I've been glad enough to be taken by these international organizations to several countries, OECD, World Bank, and EU, and the rest. And I was in one country where they had a similar rule, that you have to use, in 60% of your procurement, you have to use meat. When we looked at the tender documents, we saw that, oh yeah, they qualified, but there was 1% weight on quality. There was 2% put weight on quality. So it really didn't matter at all, because the price prevailed. So they fulfilled the criteria. The 60% was meat, but only 2% was put on quality weighting. So people are inventive. Many, I would have to say, I'm not a lawyer, so I might make some bad notes on lawyers. Sorry for that. But lawyers in my country, at least, they want to have everything written down in their laws. But they don't think that people are creative, and people can be inventive, damn inventive, and they can circumvent these rules very easily. And you can show then nice graphics like the Commission is showing, but they mean nothing actually, because you have to look deeper into into what actually is happening. But now to my presentation, and to talk about the meat in IT sector. First of all, how many of you are actually buying something IT? Okay, quite a few. What I will be telling is, or presenting is not only related to IT. So be creative. Think of how you could use them in your own procurement, because these are applicable to everywhere, I think. My topics today, I'll first tell a few words about the organization where I come from, and then why use meat in IT. Because there is some things specific. I don't know if it's specific to IT. It might be taking place in construction as well. But what I see happening in IT as well. And then I'll talk about, if I have time, I will go deeper into typical IT procurement types, where and how to use meat in each type, because I see specific categories of IT, equipment, how to use meat there, services, how to use IT there, and then I have some tips at the end. This presentation is for you, is left to you, so if I don't have time to go through everything, this is, you can go through and ask me questions as well, over email or by phone. I have my contact details at the end. But the first thing is about my organization. So Hansel, we are a little bit funny organization. In Finland, we don't have an organization which is similar to the CPO, Central Purchasing Office here. We have a ministry that is responsible for public procurement strategy. They set very high-level strategies and then somehow we have ended up in a situation where we are, in a way, an organization that is buying on behalf of others, but as well doing a lot more. So we do conclude framework agreements, dynamic purchasing systems nowadays for all the Finland to use, so all contracting authorities in Finland to use. We were, just a few months ago, we were doing this for central government only, but they decided to expand our services to all the contracting authorities in Finland. So we've been quite busy the last 2 months. We joined on 1st of September with the other organization, and now we provide these framework, or we will be providing these framework agreements and dynamic purchasing systems for all the contracting authorities in Finland. But then we have another thing that we do as well, is we assist contracting authorities in concluding very complex tendering procedures for themselves. Let's take an example. 112, you know, everybody knows number 112. That's for the emergency services. They have a very sophisticated IT system behind there. In when you call them, things start happening very quickly. We renewed that one for them. They came to us, they said, we don't know how to do this tendering procedure. Please help us. And we assisted them. It took 2.5 years. And we were providing legal assistance, tendering assistance, practical knowledge on how the market works, and concluded the agreement for them. So these are the two main things that we work on. I've been working in public procurement for 15 years, well, actually a bit more, but in my organization I've been now there in 15 years, and I started as a head for IT procurement. But I've now moved away from the IT a little bit, and I'm responsible for all e-procurement platforms and issues in Finland for all the contracting authorities. So that's about my organization. We do roughly 500 tendering procedures per year. We are 100 people, and out of these 500, I would say 80% are IT related. And now, why meat? In as long as I've seen, low price tenders might include low or inferior products or services. We had an example here. This space was acquired by lowest price, but you really don't know if you are using price in IT what you will be getting. If you are using price, the suppliers also can play around with you. You evaluate the price only, then the supplier says, okay. You get only this part of this thing with this price, and if you want actually this one, we understood from your tender documents that you don't actually want this, but if you really want it, then it costs you 100,000 million, whatever, money for more. This might be, their tactics, because they tend to rise the prices, or they try to rise the prices either during contract negotiations, I've seen it often, or they tend to want to rise the prices during the contracting period. So they start working for you, and then they say, oh, this is not included. It's not in your tender documentation. And they go back to your tender documentations time and over again and say, it's not included, it's not included, it's not included. Costs you more. So actually, if you are using price only, you actually might end up paying much more than if you did it wisely, and I say wisely, with meat. But there's always a but. Low price can actually be sometimes genuine, especially in IT. If you haven't defined, you, for example, buy some equipment, IT equipment. If you haven't defined that they have to be, that they came to the market, let's say, less than 6 months ago, they might have some old equipment in their storage somewhere, which is end-of-life product. They want to get rid of it, and they give it to you at a cheap price. If that's okay with you, everybody is happy, I think. Then another thing, if you are buying something which is an IT system, we bought in Finland I call it an email box for citizens, where the government is sending all their decisions and documents to this one email service which is on the internet. They can't send it to the people directly. They have to send it via this box. It's our stupid law. And we got the tenders and the prices. And one of these was very, very cheap. And we were wondering what the hell is going on. All the rest were like millions of euros, and this one was some 100,000. We asked the supplier, why are you so cheap? Because you have to ask. We thought that you are too low, your price is too low, we have to exclude you unless you can provide us a good excuse. And they said, well, we have done similar service for several other governments as well. And our service is running in Sweden and in some other countries, and it's actually being used by your post office as well. Hey, they had it already. We didn't just know it at the time. We had a market consultation, but they didn't tell us at the time that they had already made this service. They just thought that we'll rip them off, charge them millions of euros. But then the competition, they understood that the competition will drive the prices down, and they only wanted to charge us some 100,000 euros. So sometimes the prices can be genuine. And sometimes there are cases where the supplier really wants your business. And they want to have a reference, they want to do something together with you so that they can get into your organization or to understand the business better. And they are willing to give a low price. But you can't know it unless you have some quality aspects. Ask them, okay, some questions that either in the tender documents, or then if you're using price only, then you have to ask it later, why are you so cheap? Typical IT procurement types. I see that there are, I would say, 3 typical IT procurement types. Equipment is one area which is often in IT, or both often in IT. It includes copiers, it includes printers, computers, servers, and the rest. But then we have as well what I call as ready-made customizable software and applications. I'll give you an example. A customer management system. You want to have all your interaction with your customers logged onto some system. It doesn't make sense to start creating this from the scratch. You have products which are ready-made. Internet is full of those companies that are making these ready-made customizable software products. SAP, for example, which is for the economics thing, it's a ready-made customizable software to me. You don't build it yourself, but you buy the SAP product and then you customize it. And then there are these tailor-made solutions which are specific to your industry, specific to your organization, specific to the things that you do. And then you have to have them made specifically to you. So I call them tailor-made solutions. then some people have said to me that, oh yes, there's one additional category. It's how to buy Microsoft products or Office. You know, I have a solution for that one as well, but we don't we don't go into that one. But by the way, funnily, all software in the CPV categories. Do you know where they belong to? All software in CPV categories. Who knows? Are they, what are they? Are they products, or are they services, or are they works? Exactly, they are products, but are they really products? My question. Just a thought. So they are in the same category as equipment. And when I talk about equipment, I really mean this IT equipment. It could be any equipment. It could be any goods that you are buying. And generally, my experience says that all these equipment, you can define them to the last detail. You can have a long minimum requirement list, and then you know, minimum requirement or a scale that you have to be minimum, maximum, or you have to be in the scale. And then you actually can apply price only. I don't see a point in equipment using, for example, delivery time. Why? Because you probably have an idea when you want to have it. Why not say that I want to have this in 6 months, or in 4 months? Then it's a minimum requirement from your side. And then the supplier, if they cannot provide it in 4 months, they don't bid. They don't leave you an offer. They are out. There are some cases where I see that in equipment the meat can actually be very good. And where the meat can give in when you are buying something solid, might give you a better result, is when there are new features or products in the market that other manufacturers do not have, and it is a very important feature to you. Oh no, it's not a very important feature to you. It's a nice to have feature to you. Then you could give them more points for having this feature. And a second thing which I see constantly and even more, or in Finland at least, more and more used is ergonomics and usability matters. For example, a camera. People are starting using usability as an evaluation criteria. I'll give you an example soon. But why do they want to use ergonomics, and where did it start from? Actually, I think we started it. We were thinking that how we have a special case and we have nothing that we can evaluate actually. And we don't want to evaluate a delivery time. But what is important to us is that it's very easy to use. Everybody who grabs that camera can start using it without training. So usability, we created this was actually done for, first time it was done for laser scaling, you know, this is for the measuring land survey, measuring things. They had this laser something, which scanners, which rotates around. And they wanted to have, the previous ones that they had were so complicated that they had to train the people to use them for 2 days. And they knew that there are markets much easier to use equipment. So we created together with them a usability testing for the equipment. And we did it, and they got the most usable equipment on the market. they don't have to train them anymore for 2 days, because it's just press button and it's done. So sometimes these usability things matter in equipment as well. But I have now an example. I'll go back to the very simple ones. Laptop computers, for example. Most important features to many are processor. It's powerful enough, how much it weighs, and what's the screen size. Example. We have gladly we have companies who are doing processor evaluation. You set a minimum criteria for the processor. Pass mark test result is above 9,288. You are not saying that it's Intel. You are not saying that it's AMD processor, but you are using this pass mark as your reference point, and you say that it has to be above that. And then either you can leave it open, or then you can evaluate, give points if it's much, if it's just slightly over, or if it's a very powerful computer, then they get 10 points more. This is, for example, when there are new products on the market, and you want really the latest one, you can set these kind of criteria. This is just a very simple example, but you have to know the market. Pass mark. I don't know how many know of pass mark. Some know, but it's this kind of, if there are industry standards, use those ones, and we don't use, for example, in computers, when we are buying computers, we don't use delivery time, or we don't use how fast they service them. If something goes wrong, we say that to them that it has to be done in 2 days. Otherwise, you have to pay, or you have to. We have in the agreement terms, you have to pay to us. You are not fulfilling your contracting terms. But I think the next one is something that will give you some food of thought regarding usability and how to use usability as a testing. Like I said earlier, this was done, I think, by us first, but it's now spread all over Finland, and I see it used very, very much. So whenever you buy something which is ready-made software, and you want to have it customized to your needs, I personally would never buy anything which is ready-made from the market without using meat. SAP or XRM systems, or somebody was from airport, I think, in the airport industry, or you have as well specialized companies who are doing some software that you then buy from them, and you have it customized. There are these very specific industry niche ready-made software. You just customize them. What I would do is when I have a procurement of ready-made software in my hands, I would set the minimum criteria, minimum features that it has to have, and then do usability testing. And my experience is that this actually gives the best result that you can have. We bought once a system for analytics, and there was 2 products that were compared. The other one in the usability testing failed. We couldn't use it. The other one, we could do everything that we could, or wanted actually. So the other one, we said, okay, you get 0 points from the usability testing because we couldn't use your system at all. And the other one, you fulfilled all our criteria. Price was actually roughly the same. But I'll tell you about this usability testing, how we do it, and how it could be done. So I spent quite a lot of time on this one because I think it's something which is new, or might be new, but might be actually very good for many applications. The testing method is usually, we have either options. Usability experts. These are persons who know how usability works. There are specialist companies in Finland, and I think in your country as well, who are specializing in usability. Or another alternative is to have several actual users for the system. But don't include 100. Less than 10 is enough. And then what you do is in your tender documents, you tell that, okay, we are going to use usability as a evaluation criteria. You tell them that we are going to do these scenarios. I have 2 scenarios or 3 scenarios, which is test cases. I want to test whether your system can do this feature, whether your system can do this feature, and whether your system can do this. You provide it detailed enough level so that the suppliers understand. If you need, if there is a need for them to input some data from your side to the system, you provide a small sample data. You provide the supplier, like I said, in the test cases, you provide them user stories, basically that, okay, I will be doing this evaluation and this is how it goes. And then you provide in your call for tenders the evaluation criteria for this usability testing. So how are you going to evaluate it? Sometimes the suppliers say, no, this is subjective. Or they say that that I cannot be secure that you are doing the evaluation correctly. We've had cases where we have invited the suppliers behind a one-way mirror to a usability testing lab where they can sit on the other side of the mirror and see what's happening during the evaluation. Because if you have them in the same place where you're doing the evaluation, they try to intervene. Another method that we've used is we video everything that happens during that evaluation, both in the room and in the screen. And we provide them the video as part of the evaluation report so that they can see that we have not done anything funny. I'll give you an example. Like I said, I'm nowadays more dealing with IT or the e-procurement things, and we were just lately procuring an electronic tendering system for submission of electronic tenders from the suppliers. We know that it was a ready-made solution. There are plenty of ready-made solutions on the market, but Finnish law might require some modifications. We set the evaluation criteria. Price was 50 points, usability 35 points, and additional features on top of the minimum requirements that we wanted were 15 points. So we had a long list of minimum criteria, but then we had some bonuses. If you have this feature, hey, you get more points. Usability 35%. Now I come to the usability 35%. We had 3 cases that we provided. We wanted to set up in the system open tendering procedure, negotiated procedure with notice, and dynamic purchasing system. These were our 3 cases that we wanted to evaluate. Can we do it in this ready-made system? And we had 2 usability experts from a specialist company to do the evaluation. They knew nothing of procurement. They didn't know a thing how procurement works. They were just there to evaluate whether these criteria, I'm not going into these ones, but I'll just might take some example. Whether these criteria, when they did the usability testing of the system, whether, for example, the system, one of the criteria is the system does not require the user, it's number 2, the system does not require the user unnecessarily remember or re-enter data. So whenever, if there is, for example, if they needed to input the same information again and again and again, then they got minus points from the evaluation. There are actually 9 of these ones, and this is science. These are from Nielsen, a professor in usability who has written a lot about usability. These are the criteria that he has done, and these are published everywhere. And all the usability professors are using the same criteria. So it's scientific. For example, the system runs smoothly. There are no extra work steps or backups, and the system and there are shortcuts for advanced users. So I don't have to go, through all this stuff if I know how to do it. And we had these criteria also in our call for tenders, so the suppliers knew it. And then we said, okay, whenever these 2 people who are doing the evaluation, whenever they come to an issue from that list, if it's critical or catastrophic, catastrophic means that it prevents the task from being performed rationally. Basically, catastrophic meant that they could not continue. They didn't know what to do next. It was 20 minus points. If it was a minor was just, okay, this doesn't look good, but I can understand it. The words are a bit weird. I don't fully understand what it says, but it's a minor, it's a cosmetic thing which could be corrected easily. And these 2 people, the usability experts, and one a guy from our side who was handling also the video cameras, was there during the evaluation, and it took, I think, 4 hours per system, and we had 4 offers. It's time consuming, but it's actually, I think I would say that it's much faster than reading 200 pages of description of how they've taken usability into account in their system. It's understandable to everybody, I think. If there is a big glitch, it's minus 20 points from your score. And then the supplier who had least minus points got the full 35%, and the rest proportionally less with this formula. And what actually happened, 2 suppliers were high there on the top with nearly 35 points, or the one, of course, got the 35 points. The next one was 33.5, and then 2 were, bottom low. Prices. The bottom low 2 were the most expensive ones. Why? Because they added so many features and so many things in their system that you couldn't anymore use it. It was done for all possible, scenario, and for all possible, and it was not, those 2 systems were not made for public procurement specifically. They were made for all procurement. So there were so many features that we didn't do anything with. And they would have had to change so much. that we didn't actually believe that they even could change them. The cheapest one was number 2 in usability evaluation, and the one that was just came second in prices was just there on the top. Number 2 won this case in prices. If you it was not the most the cheapest one, not the second cheapest one won because of this one. Just some food of thought for you. Think how you could use this kind of methodology. This methodology has actually been published by Helsinki School of, it's not Helsinki School of Economics anymore. I come from Helsinki School of Economics, but it's now Aalto University in Finland. They've published this one. They've done science with this one because we did it together with them and their usability experts. So it's there out there for everybody to use, and if somebody wants to have more scientific links to this one, I have them. But then lastly, I talk about tailor-made solutions just quickly, because this is something which is you buy a system for your own use, and you need to have it specifically done for you. My question is, what are you really buying? Are you buying a system, or are you buying people to do it? And oftentimes it's buying people. You are buying coders to code you a system. So now it changes completely to a different story. You are not anymore buying a system, but you are buying people. And when you are buying people to do it, then your criteria has to be, of course, very different. We are renewing our, I can't pronounce that word, but we are renewing this one. And it's for you, it's public procurement portal. And we used as an evaluation criteria, price was 40%, expertise of offered coders. We asked them to form a team, and then we asked, how experienced are they? Have they done something similar? How much expert do they have on certain technologies? 20 points. We asked them to make us a proposal for architecture. We gave them 25%, that one. But all of these ones were split into several subpoints. And I won't go into this one so much in detail, but what we provided to them was a lot of documents, which they didn't read, by the way. They just were focused on, of course, these things that we evaluated. They didn't read the things we found later. But we had some minimum criteria. We said that the system that you will be created, we have selected a platform that you will have to be using. And this is cloud-based Microsoft Azure product. Why this product? Because we had previously a tendering procedure where that had won. So we were using the technology from another tendering procedure and said that, okay, you have to do it here. But we said that the supplier is free to use anything from this Microsoft Azure cloud to make us this service. And we said that the system has to be ready in 1 year. The rest we left to them. We just asked them to provide us names of the coders, their expertise, proposal for architecture. Why we wanted to have proposal for architecture? It wasn't for us to understand or to look at, okay, how they are going to do it, but how do they understand this thing? We wanted to evaluate, do they really understand what they are selling us or not? We had from outside one architect to evaluate, IT architect to evaluate the proposals. We had 4 offers again. 3 of them, he said, were rubbish. they don't understand what they are actually selling. This is completely nuts. And one, which happened to be the cheapest as well, was the best in architecture. And they actually provided the best or most expertise coders, and the methodology was, we were happy with it. We asked them, do you come to work in our premises, or do you do it in your own premises? And they said they would prefer to come to us if we have a place. So I'm now sitting with 8 coders every day in a small meeting room where we are coding all the time this new system. But we didn't evaluate a project plan. We didn't ask a project plan. I think this is very common to ask a project plan and to evaluate the project plan. We went further. We asked them specific questions. Provide us a specific answer. How are you going to do this one? How are you going to do that one? What are you going to do with this one? It required a lot of expertise and knowledge beforehand, but we knew our business. We knew what questions to ask. Project plan, I think it's very common to evaluate, but I think it's a bit rubbish. Some tips. For me to be effective, for any quality to be effective in your evaluation, I would say that in equipment, because the equipment is fairly similar and the pricing is fairly similar throughout, if you want to have an effect, quality, so the other way around. Yeah, I have a mistake, I think. Price, quality has to be, it's this way. Price less than 20%, and I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not doing anything, I don't know. But nevertheless, when you are buying, don't look at those ones. I might have a mistake. The equipment, you have to have, because the price is similar, so the price can have, I don't know how this goes. I'm kind of confused now. But nevertheless, let's go to the next one. For the ready-made customizable solutions, you have to have less than 60% price and quality over 40%. This one works. Otherwise, you might end up having just quality doesn't matter that much. And this is based on several tendering procedures. It's not anything statistical or scientific. It's just my experience from several 100 tendering procedures. If the quality is below 40%, it won't have an effect. This was said already before. Don't ask the supplier to provide you 200 different descriptions or plans. Use limited number of quality factors. Often 3 is enough. My time is up.
No.
Yes, it is. 5 minutes, I know.
We saved you some moment.
Yeah, I know. But focusing on the most important ones, 3, maximum 5, I would say. Don't do any more. Because then you have a problem when you are trying to evaluate the things. You have a problem for yourselves. You're actually creating a problem for yourself if you ask even more descriptions or whatever to evaluate. You have then these 200 descriptions that you have to evaluate, and you really can't do it. I would say it's impossible for anybody. Or it takes a very long time. One tip that when you're talking about IT, always remember to include services, maintenance, further development in your call for tenders, and ask for price for that one as well. Because if you'd have not asked the price, then you are actually locking yourself into this supplier often, and then they can start charging you whatever price for the further development. And I would say that no IT system, when you're buying an IT system, is ever ready. So there has to be some changes, further development. So yes, remember this one. I think this is one of the most important things for the contracting period to remember. And what to avoid in the, I'm coming to my last slides. What to avoid? I would like to say that try to evaluate any plans provided by supplier unless you have told them what this description needs to include. I'll take an example. Project plan. It's very common to evaluate a project plan. One company thinks that the project plan is just one A4. And another one has a methodology for project plan creation, which ends up to have 200 pages. With all the nitty-gritty details which you are actually not interested in. But this one pager, this has all the things that you are interested in. Is the 200 pages better than the one page? If you don't tell them what you're evaluating, or if you don't ask them specific questions, you are actually creating for yourself a problem. And one thing that was said already before, if you are trying to evaluate a project plan or a common plan, you might end up evaluating actually who is a better writer or who is best liar. Because this is supplier tactics. I know that in Finland, I think you have the same telecommunications company here as well, Swedish one, you know. They have a group of people, and in Finland they have 3 or 4 people who are specializing in tender writing. They've gone to courses on tender writing. And so they are the best writers. So if you are trying to evaluate their proposal, it's written brilliant. It's like, you know, a book. But they are as well best liars. So, and we know this because we've done several tendering procedures. If you're doing the tendering procedure with them for the first time, you don't know this. But we know that they have 4 writers there who have nothing else to do but write offers. Final thing. Remember, you have to know the market if you want to use meat. I think meat is now kind of banned. We are all vegetarian, but nevertheless. To use it wisely, you need to go to the market. You need to talk to the suppliers before you engage in the tendering procedure itself. Publish a contract or prior information notice, for example. Ask them to come to you to talk about your upcoming plan for what you're going to buy. Engage all the suppliers that contact you. Send them your ideas, your documents beforehand. Before you publish your call for tender, all this has to be done. You have to know, or you have to actually ask them the right questions as well, because sometimes they are not willing to tell you. They want to keep it hidden and secret. But we had once a tactic for this telecommunications operator, that we had a person who didn't understand anything of telecommunications there in the prior meetings, and he was asking all the time questions. Sorry, I don't understand this. I understand nothing of telecommunications. Actually, he did understand quite a lot. But that actually made them talk more. So we understood that, okay, these guys really do have the 4 people writing the tender documents there. Because we asked them, what are you? Why do you have 10 people in this meeting? What is your role? And then I'm a tender writer. I'm a tender writer. I'm a tender writer. I'm a tender writer. Okay, you have 4. And you are taking part in this prior or technical talks where we are trying to solve how to, or ask you how to solve this problem before we engage in a tendering procedure. Thank you. I had an alarm for 45 minutes. It went off. I've used my time. Thank you. Microsoft licenses. My question, could you use usability? I think yes. Put them together, put the users together in a, to try to use OpenOffice and Microsoft Office, put them to do tricks. Life cycle costing is another thing. We had one organization in Finland who went to the OpenOffice, and they had to train their users so much that that they've actually spent more money on the training than if they had continued with the Microsoft Office. Another thing is to include, for example, in the prices, tested updates for the next 5 years. Microsoft provides as part of its, this is trade secret, as part of their product updates for at least 5 years. OpenOffice is created by the community. Those updates have to be tested, and somebody has to test them, and it costs money. What would that cost? So it's part of the life cycle costing. And then a third one, of course, technical compatibility. Try to open a complicated PowerPoint slide in an open office PowerPoint. Probably won't. Yeah, there are methods. They're complicated, but yes, there are methods. Okay, thank you.